Okay, so next topic is education and social change. It is there in your paper 1 and also paper 2. So here we will see from the perspective of paper 1, and then I'll give you another PDF from where you can add the content for paper 2 also, but this should be the base. Okay, so here we have to bring in different thinkers also, like we will talk about Marxian thinkers, functional theorists like Durkheim we will discuss about, Parsons we will talk about. Then when we discuss about the conflict perspective, we will discuss about other Marxian thinkers also, like Bourdieu, different other thinkers we'll discuss. So education, when we talk about education, so society is basically based on stratification. So this is something which is very much evident, and then you need to talk about the Davis and Moore theory that you have learned. Some sections, okay, are rewarded based on the intent and ability. So on the basis of what you judge the ability, mostly it is education. So education provide the much required avenue or source for the social mobility. So if there is a question on education, the most important point which has to be there in your answer is this part. It is the most important avenue for social mobility. Now how it affect the family, okay, so then the religious values, okay, and then social change, etc., that we are supposed to write, that is open to you. But apart from that, thinkers we can write here. Education initiates social change. Okay, it is the most powerful instrument of social change. You know that what can it lead to, right? Many great evils like sati, child marriage, were largely vanished from Indian society due to education. At that time, even if you talk about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he was the educated person, so he started thinking rationally and logically about this institution of sati, and he fought against it, even though it was against the total morality of the entire society. Even though the entire society was against him, but it initiated the social change. It is all because of his rationality, rational thinking, logical thinking, and ultimately from where it is coming. It is coming through education. So in that way, we can say it initiates social change. Capacity to welcome change, equality of opportunity. It is a moral agent, economic role, fight orthodoxy, promote social and liberal ideas. Social mobility, this is the most important one. Education is one of the most important source or avenue of social mobility. Especially you can see intergenerational mobility. Intergenerational mobility is what the mobility you can see present days, right? It is coming out of education. So the father is a farmer, son is an IAS officer or an entrepreneur, etc. Okay, so intergenerational mobility, the most important source is actually education, because the wealth is not there to pass on to the next generation. So only through education mostly that is possible. Durkheim says it is an agent of transmission of social norms. By respecting rules in schools, children learn to respect the norms of the society. So first the children start respecting or learning the rules of society, so automatically they learn the norms of society. So in that way, it's an agent of transmission of social norms. Parsons gives some more better understanding. Parsons says schools are society in miniature, and education play a key role in role allocation in an increasingly specialized industrial economy. In family, child is judged on the particularistic standards, right? But when it comes to school, child is judged on the basis of universal values. And it is a school which teaches the student about the value of competition. It doesn't matter in case of home, whatever you do, you will not be facing any problem, you will be promoted, you will be appreciated. But that is not the case in case of school. You will have to face the competition. So a child start learning competition in the school. Okay, so it is necessary for social integration. Other functions are social control, communication of knowledge, character building, development of human resources, okay, contributing to human and economic development, and so on. So much of functions Parsons is talking about. Raymond Bourdieu, he shows that the role of education in providing for social mobility is not very significant. So I think this is a critical view. So there is an alternative view. So this is actually the critical view. Why it is? Because you are saying that social mobility is achievable through what? Education. Or role of education in terms of social mobility is actually overhyped, because not everybody is getting good education, right? The workers' sons or daughters are not getting the education as like the capitalist. So the upper strata people are getting better access to better education, better teachers, better contents. So their mobility will be relatively higher. So you cannot assume that equality of opportunity is there. Education provide that equality of opportunity. So education based on equality only perpetuates inequality, right? So that is the reason why positive discrimination is actually required. Power, wealth and other material sources play a greater role in such societies, and commercialization of education is also a big problem in the current society. So exactly the same is highlighted here. Paul Willis, working class kids get only working class jobs as differential education leads to differential reproduction of cultural values. According to Perry Bourdieu, education also help in reproducing the cultural capital, which is as necessary as social capital. So what do you mean by social capital? Social capital, if you see, this question was asked before also, but not there in the syllabus. Social capital means it is your relatives, okay, or it is your friends. It is that particular group with whom you can get the support, help. It is your kin group. So initially the main social capital source is actually joint family, but nowadays in the modern society it is mostly friends. Go-to friends are there, right? So that is your social capital. More friends, more connection you have, more social capital you have. Economic capital means it's money power that you have. Social capital is more important than economic capital nowadays. Okay, now feminist perspective is also there. According to feminist, this education or the schooling reproduces the appropriate feminine roles in girl childs. So it is the schools which tell or teach the students or the female child that your role is this, you have to obey the husband, you have to do the household activities, etc. It reproduces the gender stereotypes prevailing in society. And this is very important, this has to be there in your answer. Critical view, Althusser. So functionalist view should be there. So in your answer mainly Durkheim should be there, Parsons should be there, and then feminist perspective should be there, Althusser, this should be there, and then one more is there, Ian Illich. This five thinkers should be there in your answer. Apart from that, whatever you feel like good from the education point of view, you can write. That is your choice. Okay, so Althusser, what he says is it is an ideological conditioning device. You go to the school, your ideology is actually conditioned in response to Marxian, capitalist setup, and it is actually creating the labor force which is required for the capitalist society time and again. Althusser, in his ideology and ideological state apparatus, if possible you write this name also, because what he says is ideological conditioning device. Education system is an ideological conditioning device. It will be conditioning you for the capitalist system. Treats education as the most important ideological state apparatus appropriated by the ruling class to pursue their own ideas and interest. And it reinforces dominant ideology and thus hinders real social change in society. It merely leads to reproduction of labor force. Similarly, Ian Illich also talking about this. Ian Illich, Deschooling society. So what he says is the children suffocate in the schools, so it affects the creativity, because in school they will be teaching you certain things which may be against the actual skill of the children, and it is de-skilling the individual in the school. Okay, and you are becoming more and more dependent on the capitalist system. School promote passive consumption and uncritical acceptance of existing social order, and that's the reason why you won't go for revolution even though you are getting exploited. So schools, family, etc. are preventing you and making you a passive acceptance of the existing social order. To overcome these problems, he suggested deschooling of society. So that should be there in your answer. So education related question is there. Durkheim should be there, Parsons should be there, Althusser should be there, and Ian Illich should be there. If possible, Pierre Bourdieu, cultural capital, and feminist also. These 6 has to be there in your answer, whether it is 100 words or 200 words or 300 words. Even in 100 words also you need to accommodate them. Okay, science and technology, social change. I'm not reading the PDF. You can see what are the changes which science and technology can brought in, right? So what are the changes? You can talk about the changes even if you talk about religion. Now the religion, how it is how science and technology is supporting the religious revivalism. It is because of social media, okay? Or you can even talk about this microphones, etc., supporting the religious practices, right? So microphone is actually excessively used by religion. Then the social media is also used by religion. And because of science and technology, only the family, even though people stay outside or apart, but still they maintain a constant tie. And also science and technology improved the life of female like anything, because of almost all the household activities will be done by the machines now, washing machine, all these. Because of that, women is now able to find time for becoming part of the labor force outside. So now she can earn from outside, even though there are other issues, okay? So all these are, and science and technology provide social mobility. So all these aspect has to be brought in your answer. So it is there, you can just read this very simple topic. Any doubt here? So here, education and social change in the Indian context I have written. So you need to talk about, you see, Macaulay Minute, okay? And then the Gurukul system, the madrasa system that we had, 18% literacy during the time of independence, universal education then was given, Right to Education Act, okay? So in Indian context, if you talk about, initially it was Gurukul system, although some universities you talk about Nalanda, Takshashila, etc., but we don't want to discuss too much about that. Mainly Gurukul system among the Hindus and the madrasa system among the Muslims. Both had its own problems, and then comes the main change in education from the Macaulay Minute, right, during 1835, which give importance to English education for the higher education. And after that, in 1854, you will see Wood's Dispatch, which is known as Magna Carta of modern Indian education, which had actually solved some of the problems of Macaulay Minute, but still some problems was here. In Macaulay Minute, higher education was given importance. In Wood's Dispatch, even though education became the responsibility of the state, but secondary education was given more importance. Then comes 1882 Hundar Commission, where the historic problem will be solved, the primary education will be given significance. So from here, the education system got the proper shape, and then we are moving towards. But if you see post-independence time, the literacy was around 18%, and we had put a lot of effort. And then you can talk about 2009, when that year, Right to Education, 86th Constitutional Amendment, and it became the fundamental right of the, fundamental right when right to education was made a reality. And also it became part of fundamental duty, that the parents duty, okay? So it is a universal avenue of social change, best agent of social mobility. Dubé, in a study of Gorakhpur, he identified it is an avenue of intergenerational mobility, because he identified many lawyers, engineers, teachers, etc. are from rural, small background. So it provides intergenerational mobility. So according to Kumaraswamy, a meaningful education system pursue the following ideals. These are not significant from sociological perspective. What is important for sociological perspective, I have already discussed with you. Okay, so now still there are issues related to caste discrimination within the education system. Midday meal problem is there. Okay, so within the caste itself, within the class itself, the lower caste, see, everybody have the right to education, but the lower caste is sitting at the back bench, and teacher will only ask the doubts to the upper caste only, because teacher is also from upper caste. So the teacher won't even turn to them, and also the parents of the upper caste will tell that you should not make them mingle or mix with the lower caste. So that is actually creating problem. Issues of holistic personality development, inculcation of nationalist and humanistic values, that's not there. Respecting dignity of labor. So these are the issues. Profit centric, okay. Then functioning of government school is a big problem. Incident of caste discrimination, that can be segregation of children while eating midday meal scheme, even within the class also. Caste association and religious association are also running an educational institution, and it is a roadblock in building the egalitarian society. Then literacy among Muslim women is high, but still their economic participation is very poor. Thus, guaranteed education does not guarantee gender equality. So you talk from the perspective of women. Okay. So similarly, in the case of Northeast, Saksa points out that tribal youth get educated in hope of gainful employment, but because of lack of opportunities, the disillusioned youth indulge in nefarious activities. According to Jean Rees, 3 major factors still making problem in education: poor infrastructure and irrelevant curriculum and poor quality of teachers. Universal enrollment is there, but dropout is also there. Equal number of dropout is there, and the schools are not able to retain the students. That's of a big challenge and concern. Education need to be accompanied by removal of other structural barriers also to be for the effective instrument of social change. So, not important topics, but in case if you get a question, you should have enough content to write, but all these will come automatically from you. Some may be required as the perspective, otherwise these are general topics. But you should be writing in a sociological perspective. From your side, you should talk about the positives, negatives. That means functions and dysfunctions. Okay, and also at the level of micro macro structure. At the level of society, what is the change that education can bring? At the level of individual, what are the changes that the education can bring? Same as the case with law also, how society will be benefited, how individuals will be benefited. Science and technology also, all these are the same only. Okay, so any doubts here? Okay, then we will stop for today.